So, Honkai Star Rail is, from the makers of Genshin, and it follows the story right after Honkai Impact. The reason why they decided to do that naturally was because Honkai Impact, the limitation of the software, they could no longer continue to, support the game. Not support the game, but there's nothing more they could do with the game because their engine is really locked in. If you think about it, it makes a lot of sense because in Honkai Star Rail, you can now have some crazy cinematic skills. It's turn-based, it's fine, but the effects of debuffs, etc., just isn't. There's not much depth and no intersection between the debuffs. Exactly. So there's no like elemental swirl like in Genshin, where if you have a Nemo with with fire and Dendril, you get like the massive burn damage. You don't get that. You don't get elemental burst with, say, water. Like, you lose all that synergy, which they could have done in this game because it works off the same affinities. And I'm not saying Honkai is going to be a bad game. I'm just saying it's just, if you tear it down, it's very bare bones. I think he's done. Haven't played it, so I don't know. I don't know if it's done, but it just made sense that in Honkai Impact, they've like maxed out what they could do. They've pumped out a ton of stories, pumped out a ton of heroes. Like, there's nothing else they can really do anymore. They can't just keep making a story. I mean, they could, but with their game engine for Honkai Impact, it's very limited. Whereas in a game like this, where it's turn-based, you have a lot more freedom to be able to express with your characters. For example, your characters can do really cool skills. I mean, it is turn-based, unfortunately, so for people who aren't into that, that is going to suck, but it is turn-based. So they are trying to appeal to a different type of player. And from this, I would extrapolate that you are trying to go for the Epic 7 players, the FGOs, the Seven Deadly Sins, Grand Order, Brave Exvius, Brave Frontier. You're trying to go for that demographic. You're just using this universe to pull people in, and you're also trying to pull people from Honkai Impact, because there's probably a lot of people that used to play Honkai Impact that have stopped, and if they see a game that's like this, they might decide to pick it up. I will say though, because of how the game plays still like Genshin, in the sense that your gacha shop is basically the same, 90 for soft pity, 180 for hard. Yeah, 90 for soft pity, 180 for hard pity, and the weapon banner is the same. It's going to work, or it's going to feel essentially like Genshin, with the only difference of it being turn-based. And the thing I don't like about it is, if this follows Genshin, then you're going to most likely have condensed resin. You're going to have to find a butterfly, and then you can condense your resin. You're going to have a maximum of 4 resin, and then you're going to farm loot. You're going to grind for gear, and you're going to go through this entire cycle again and again and again. But I will say, because it's a turn-based RPG, that's normal. It fits very similar to Epic 7, the grind for Epic 7 gear, and already the Genshin gears. But it's probably better than Genshin grinding, because Epic 7, you can do it in a dungeon very quickly and get it. Hopefully they have autoplay, or at least skip tickets. That's what I hope for this game. If not, this game's just going to become super tedious and chore. Farming gear in Genshin is so boring. If it's the same for Honkai, I will not play. That's the thing. Most likely it's going to be, and the gameplay has to be engaging, okay? If, like, just from the looks of the gameplay right now, it just does not look that innovative. It's very similar to, I do damage, enemy does damage, I go low HP, I heal. The boss might have a gimmick, the boss might not have a gimmick, and it looks like potentially you can stagger the enemies. So you're basically playing like Sekiro, or like Final Fantasy 13. You're trying to stagger the enemy to be able to do more damage to them. Great. This game becomes just, it literally just becomes, what's the word? Rock, paper, it literally falls into the traditional trap of DPS, warrior, and healer. it falls into that traditional role. You're gonna have a warrior that's gonna be your frontline tanking. You're gonna have your DPS, which is gonna do your damage, and then you're gonna have your healer support that's gonna heal. The issue with healer support is that it artificially makes fights longer and harder because, you know, you end up being a damage sponge. You know, you take tons of damage, you heal. You take damage, you heal. You take damage, you spend a turn healing. You take damage, you spend a turn healing. You know, that's the loop. I do damage, boss does damage. I get low enough, I heal. I do more damage, I do more damage. I get low enough, I heal. And then ideally you have some cool mechanics, you know. In this game it looks like stagger is going to be the mechanic, and it also looks like you can apply debuffs like freeze. I know you can freeze the enemy. I'm sure you can apply individual debuffs, but if this game resembles Genshin, then realistically their debuffs should synergize. They should have elemental swirls. You know, say for example you have water, electricity. Enemy takes extra damage to electricity, or they take shock damage, or they end up being paralyzed. Or say for example, Jesus, I don't know, ice and water. Ice and water, if those two mix, the enemy stays frozen for an extra turn or an extra 2 turns, you know, if you get that swirl. Or what else could there be? Like for example, if you apply the enemy with fire and wind, if you hit them with fire and the wind, then the enemy takes continuous burn damage or takes more burn damage. You know, stuff like that the game could introduce into the game because it falls very in line of the flavor of Genshin. It's just that right now it honestly looks like that's not going to be the case. So I honestly do believe that this game is going to be a lot of fun on launch. I don't know if it's going to be sustainable in the sense that in my head it would be good for streamers, but I don't know if it's good for players. I mean, in Honkai, after breaking an enemy, it does add a debuff depending on the element that staggered them. Yes, so it probably should act the same here. It would add a debuff, but it's just you do more damage. It's nothing groundbreaking, you know? It's just you'll do more damage with that element, which isn't that innovative. I mean, it's nice, but it's just bigger numbers at the end of the day. Because the biggest thing is, I can see why a lot of people are already posting content. Like, there's so much content already out there for this game, surprisingly, which is really smart from the company because it's letting the player play the game in closed beta and then release the content out on YouTube, and it's just free promotion at this point, right? And Genshin's too big to fail. The only thing is, with Honkai Star Rail, personally, I would play it only because I'm a streamer, and my mind feels like it would be, I wouldn't say easy to build up a big following, but because it'd be such a big game, it would, since it'd be such a big game, it'd be a good opportunity for someone to, you know, set their mark, not set their mark, get a big piece of the pie, or get a piece of the, you know, the Honkai Star Rail pie, very similar to like Tectone or all these other people who used to play Genshin. You know, get in early, become a content creator, and then that way build an audience, and then like really stream. Like, that's how I kind of view this, right? And if I just very briefly go into Honkai Star Rail, convert Hoyo followers to Limbusum, that is also a plan. Maybe it can go both ways, but you can see like there's so many videos already with Honkai Star Rail. Like, the videos are out the wazoo. Da da da, best 5 card. Da 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 da, replacing Genshin. Da 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 da, is it the same? Ba 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 ba. Video preview, like so much videos already. I, unfortunately, cannot make those kind of videos, but I can make these kind of videos and then, you know, leverage it into Honkai Star Rail content. Every game is like this. Oh baby, it indeed is like this, but don't get me wrong, it looks like a fun game. I'm probably gonna try it out, and ideally what I want to do is I want to play both, so that way I can bring people from Limbus to Hoyo and people from Hoyo to Limbus, and I can play both and make content for both. I'll have the both of best worlds, big YouTuber, make a ton of money, cosplay a little bit, and, you know, dress up. I think that'd be fun.